Hello YouTube, and welcome to another episode of The Cloudy Vape. In this video, we're going to be talking about the Lemo 2 by Eleaf. So I received this device from GearBest.com for review, so big shout out to GearBest and shout out to my rep, Anita. Thank you so much for sending this out. So let's talk about this a little bit. This has been reviewed quite a bit, has been talked about quite a bit. There are negative opinions, there are positive opinions, there are just different thoughts about this. I guess it really depends on what type of vapor you are. What do you use? What do you build on? What viscosity is your juice for the most part? Do you use max VG? Do you use 50/50? What exactly do you do? What do you like vaping at? Do you like lower ohms? Do you like higher ohms? That's what this tank is all about. So we're going to do a quick up close, just kind of just check it out, show you the parts real quick, then do a quick build on it, and then talk about it. This is going to be a very fast review, not really too in-depth, but just kind of let you know about it, because it's been reviewed before. You guys know what it is, but I'm going to give you my take on how I build it and how I get it to work. So right now, I'm using it at about 0.6 ohms and at about 40 watts. So that's roughly 5 volts at 6 ohms. So 0.6 ohms. And it's wicked with Kanthal and Japanese cotton. So, without more yapping, let's have a couple vapes on it and then talk about it. So I'm going to do, 3 to 5 second pulls, straight lung inhales, and see how it goes. So let's go for it. And by the way, the airflow is wide open. So as many other reviewers have already stated, one being Suck My Mod, he mentioned higher viscosity doesn't work very well in this. I would absolutely agree. The 50/50 definitely works better. I have no problem, vaping on 50/50, even bumping it up to at a 0.6 ohm build. I think I can bump it up to about 50 watts, 60 watts even, and you definitely get really warm, and it does keep up with the wicking because it is a 50/50 juice. That's what I'm trying to say. It definitely keeps up. 60/40, it really depends on the juice. Again, it's really hard to just say a certain ratio will work because, not always do juice companies, they're not always correct on the exact ratio. Like a 60/40, you could get two different 60/40s and there'll be a different viscosity. Just because, what exactly is used. Is it PG based? Is it VG based? What is going on with that? So it's just, it's a little weird. They all differ. And if you don't agree, then maybe you haven't seen enough juice. But I'm just saying, from what I've seen, juice really differs. Even max VG from max VG to 50/50 to 50/50, it really differs. That's all I'm trying to say. So I'm trying to rant about viscosity because this tank is all about the viscosity that you use. You can build pretty much any coil you want in this, within reason, anywhere from, I would say, down to about 0.3 all the way, up to 2 ohms if you want. But it really depends on the viscosity of juice that you're using. So as you can see, the wicking definitely keeps up. So without more yapping about it, let's dive down and check it out. We'll do just a quick rundown of the device, talk a little bit about it, build it really quickly, wick it, and then, come back out and talk about the pros and the cons. So let's do it. Alright, so here is the Lemo 2. This is the box it will come in. It has a few markings, shows the actual product, says Lemo 2, a few markings, eleafworld.com, UPC, also Eleaf, and then on the back it will say the Lemo 2 features a side e-liquid fill hole. Leakage can be avoided in this case. The inherence of the RBA head also maximizes the fun of DIY experience and could bring cloud vapor production for you. This product is not intended for persons under the age of 18, pregnant women, and women who are breastfeeding. If you have a heart condition or other diseases, you need to consult your healthcare provider. Keep out of reach of children. Made in China, manufactured by iSmoka. Alright, so let's go ahead and pop this apart. So this is just slides off. Kind of weird that they don't have anything covering this besides this sleeve. But yeah, so just going to set that aside. You do have a few goodies, but first let's talk about the size of this, because this is a pretty substantial size. So in length, and I don't know if that is with drip tip or not. I don't have anything to measure at the moment, but it says it's 76.2 millimeters, and it is a 22 millimeter device. Liquid capacity is 3.8 milliliters. It says that it's temperature controlled nickel heating wire added, and I don't know if that means the spool of wire that's down inside the goodies, or if that means that it's the actual wire attached. I'd never tested the pre-built thing. Usually when these type of devices come with pre-built coils, I just rip them out and I put new ones in, so I'm not able to really tell you anything about that. So let's go ahead and set this aside, and then let's look at what our goodies are. So this just pops off. Set that aside. This comes off. We have our user manual that'll just tell you a little bit about the device, also some warnings, also how to fill it, saying that you need to lay it horizontal in order to fill it. This is also talking about filling it. I guess people need to know how to fill it. You do have some O-rings, so that is nice. A few extra O-rings to seal off different things, and also extra screws. That's what the wire came in. Let me see what else. We also have some cotton, some organic cotton. Here is the wire. Now, I'm not sure if it's Kanthal or not. It is pretty springy. It's pretty firm. Feels like Kanthal to me. Doesn't really feel like a softer nickel, so I couldn't really tell you without, using it and messing with it and checking ohms on it. But it definitely feels like a firmer wire, so I'm not gonna say this is a nickel 200. I would definitely say this is probably like a Kanthal. Now the next thing that is really important, and I noticed I was not able to tighten down the deck screws without this actually little kind of eyeglass screwdriver. Most of the screwdrivers I have are a little bit larger, so I needed to use this. So just make sure you hang on to this and you don't throw it out, because it definitely helps if you don't have these little eyeglass screwdrivers. So now looking at the actual device, this is essentially your entire tank ready to go. Here is your fill hole for the top. It just twists open. You lay it horizontal to fill it up. It has a really large, I would say close to 3 millimeters, 4 millimeters, 3 millimeters in width, and it's just a very large Cylon fill hole. So that's nice. Just make sure you shut it off before you use it. You just twist it like that, and it does have a ball bearing click. So looking at this airflow, you're looking at 2 Cylon airflows, one on both sides, and it's very small. The thickness is probably about I would say 0.5 millimeter, maybe 1 millimeter, and the length you're looking at probably 7 to 9 millimeters in length, and it's adjustable on both sides. So if you close off one, there's halfway or so it's going to close off on the other side, so you have the option of adjusting the airflow. So looking at the drip tip is very nice, very wide bore drip tip. Not too shabby on there. You have 2 O-rings to seal off the drip tip. Now to take apart this device, you just twist it. Here's your chimney and chamber. Here's your top portion. So your top portion has a 510 connection for drip tip, and then you also have an O-ring to seal off the top portion, and then this is where the actual chimney screws into up here. So that's your top section. I'll set that aside. Here's your Pyrex glass. Now it does not come with a replacement glass, but this is it. So now looking at the deck just a little bit closer, we have our 2 flathead screws, we have our coil basically put in there, and then you have about a 3 millimeter airflow hole. Let me just move this coil to the side. I'm going to take that out anyways. So you have about a 3mm airflow hole going straight down, and that is what's going to be coming out of this eyelet holes down here. It's kind of hard to see, but basically you have eyelets. So there it is. I screwed it out just a little bit. As you can see, you do have eyelets all around, and they're 2.5 to 3mm eyelets. So that's going to be your airflow intake coming in, and then it hits that 3mm hole right there. That's going to be your airflow. You have your juice channels right there. Also one right there. As I stated before, 1.5 to 2mm juice channels. You have a threading around the entire deck. So essentially what happens is your chimney in your top section is going to screw down right on top of that like that. And that's how you finish off your build. So for building it, there's a few options. You can wrap, just like I guess K-Fun style, you can wrap around the screws on the top, or you can do as I'm doing and go into those eyelets right there on both sides. They're kind of like post holes, but I've seen it both ways. So you either do it from the top or you do it on the sides, and those are kind of your main options. So I'm going to take this apart real quick, and I'll show you my build on it really quickly. Alright, so I got it all taken off. Now all I'm going to use is some 24 gauge Canthal. I'm going to do roughly, you can do 6 to 8 wraps. I'm going to do 8 wraps just to set it around 0.6 so it works on most 30 watt devices. I only push it up to, 30 to 50 watts. So, that's just what I'm going to do for this, and then I'll show you my wicking method. So I'm using a 2.5mm screwdriver to wrap this. Like I said, I'm going to do 8 wraps. So just do whatever you need to do to get that size and dimension going. Alright, so there it is. Semi-decent coil. One of the starts is a little off, but it's all good. So what I'm going to do now is just make sure that the coils, you kind of want to give an angle on each, kind of a roughly 45-degree angle on each, like this. So when you look at it, it should be pointing out. You don't want to line those leads up. Just do it like that. So once you're done with that, get your deck, and what you need to do is basically find the height that you want it to sit at. So if you see it like this, you can feed one of the leads in, and this is feeding it in through the side like this. And I roughly look at, I want the distance, the thickness of this deck right here, from here to here. That's how much distance I want from the coil to have the extra lead. So from there, I'm just going to bend up the coil. So it's going to look like that. And the lead is now bent, just like that. Now what you do is take that lead out, take the other lead that is not bent, put it on the opposite side, just like that. And now what you want to do is the same exact distance. Look down at it, make sure the distance of the deck, this thickness of the deck between my fingers, is the same distance between the coil and your lead. So once you get there, bend that up again. It's bent up. So now what we have here, another bent lead. Pull it out and let's look at what we have on these leads. We have it exactly how we want it, spaced just like that. Alright, so now we have our coil ready to go like this. Basically just clip the leads exactly the distance of the coil. Either that or clip it the distance of the thickness of this. So pop in one lead, so just like this, that lead is in on this side, and then I'm just going to cut it off on the opposite side. Just like that. So now what we do is just take the coil out, pop that coil out, put the other lead in, because that is your longer lead. Pop that lead in. Now what you want to do is get your screwdriver, and you're just going to give it a little bend. Canthal works pretty well. You can work with it. So you take that lead that short lead, bend it out a little bit, bend it out, just line it up with that hole. And there you go. Now it's in, you can work with it. So first thing I would do is clip off that larger lead so you don't have to mess with it. So just keep the leads pushed in, push them in tight, and then all you need to do is screw down each post. You want it to be firm before you start messing with it, so definitely hold it firm, screw it down. Alright, so now that coil is in there, all we're going to do is just put the screwdriver back in it and just adjust it a little bit. Nothing crazy, you just want to get it off the deck a tiny bit. There it is, off the deck just a little bit. And you kind of want to line it up straight. So that's about straight. The when I fire it up a little bit, I can work with it right now, but right now it's pretty springy. So let me see if I can just get it to kind of force there. There we go. So that's about how I want it lined up. Just a little bit of spacing from the deck, and that's how I do it. So I'm going to screw the airflow control back on, just like that. Okay, not too shabby. I'm going to throw it on an ohm meter real quick, see what we're sitting at, make sure we don't have to tighten down those screws anymore. Should be around 0.5 or 0.6. So there you go, 0.57. Best thing to do is wiggle when you put it on ohm meter. Wiggle the coil, tap it, and if it jumps around a lot, then that means your screws are probably not tightened down. So there we go again, 0.56. So we'll go ahead and heat it up, and it will change just a tiny bit when we heat it up, but we do know it is around 0.5 to 0.6. Alright, so I have this on the IPv4, so I'm just going to test the meter reading. Resistance is 0.56, so my ohm meter is, fairly accurate, I guess. So that's set to that. I'm just going to give it about 20 watts. The biggest thing you want to do is when you're building an RTAs, you don't want to fire up the coils like crazy. You just want to get them hot enough to, just to work with. So there you go. There's a little bit of hotness. So I'm going to just take my screwdriver, give it a little strum. That's heating up exactly how I want it to. Then for the sake of just getting it nice and tight, I'm just going to take some tweezers, give it a little crimp, fire it up for about 3 seconds. Alright, there you go. Not too bad. So that's what your coil should look like. Just burnt my hand with the ceramic tweezers. That was not fun. Alright, so we're going to do the wicking now. Make sure you turn off your device or take it off the device while you're wicking. It is not smart to have a device on while you're wicking. Alright, so there it is. Now I'm just going to take some Japanese cotton. Just a little teeny piece of Japanese cotton. I would say cut about a little bit more than 1/8 of an inch in length, or in thickness rather. A little bit more than 1/8 of an inch in thickness. Let me cut it and I'll show you. Now the biggest thing is if you're using Japanese cotton to wick this, you want to make sure that the cotton you're using is pretty fluffy. So don't go too crazy with messing with the patterning it down or pinching it or anything like that. So move this aside. So I have about it's a little bit bigger. I would say almost 1/4 inch, but this is really fluffy cotton. These are the larger pads, so the cotton is very fluffy. So I'm just going to take off the front and back. And that leaves me with just this part. Get one side. And when you're working with cotton, make sure you wash your hands with soap. You don't want any of your oils to get into the cotton. So try to minimally touch it and only, basically create a point on one side, and that's all you need to do. So let's get the deck, feed it through, just like that. Now what you want to do is just give these a little wiggle. You want to fluff these out, fluff them out just a little bit. And now all you need to do is just cut it. Imagine the distance from the deck to the actual juice channel. You don't want to go into the juice channel. You just want a small little piece. Basically, butt your scissors up to where the threading is on the deck, and give it a cut like that. Go on the opposite side. Butt your scissors up to the deck. Give it a cut like that. This one's a little bit bigger. Just like that. So that's about all you need. Before you actually saturate this, you want to take some Kanthal. Just feather it down. That way you don't have clumped up cotton. Just feather this down just a little bit. As much as it will, because cotton is a little stiff when it's not saturated. So just make sure that it's just feathering a little bit, because once you actually put the juice in, it'll actually, it'll help out. But really all you're doing is you just want to break up the bunches. You don't want it all bunched up. So you see around, it looks all frizzy. That's all you really want to do. Just feather it out. Now, just take some of your juice. I'm using a 65 VG right here. Drop a little bit on. Alright, now that is there, let's just go down. And if you see like this, that distance, it's a tiny bit above the deck. Just a little bit above the deck. So all you need to do is just fluff it down. Just kind of pet it down like a nice little pet. Pet it down like that. So that is it. That's your wicking system. Now, really, that's it. I mean, you take your barrel section, your top barrel section, pop it on. It should have no give. I mean, you should get no pushback from cotton. If you do feel cotton going into the threads, pull that cotton out, start over. Alright, so just put your tank on, put your top section on. Now the next thing to do, close off your airflow when you're filling your tank. Go over, open it up like that. Go to my juice again, and just find the eyelet hole and start filling to your heart's content. And when you're filling, most of these tanks, you want to give a little bit of air headroom. So now set it up straight and look at it. See, there is still a little bit of room left. Make sure you close off that top fill area. But really, you just want to make sure there's a little bit of air room. So I'm going to take this off the deck so you can see it. Just make sure there's a little bit of air room. So I probably put, 2.5 mils of juice in there. And it is a 65 VG. So not too shabby. Make sure you get your drip tip back on. And yeah, so this is the build that I've been vaping on in this video. And this is, this is what you see with all the vapors and the happiness. So, yep, that's the quick rundown of this. I guess it wasn't really quick, but I wanted to show a build and how I wick it. And like I said, if I'm using a 65 VG or, 50-50, it wicks perfectly. I can go up to 60 watts at a 0.6 ohm build, and I have no issue with keeping up. But yeah, there's a quick rundown. Showed you the drip tip, showed you the top section, the O-rings, the glass, the chamber, the chimney, the airflow control, the inner control where the air intake is, and then also your bottom contact pin. So that is the Lemo 2, And let's go back up to FaceTime and talk about the pros and the cons. The first thing I would say is the juice channel is just a little bit too small. It definitely works for thinner viscosity, 60-40, 50-50. Anything higher is just gonna, it's not gonna wick fast enough. So that's definitely a con for me. I just think if it was a little bit bigger, I'm not talking like, Goblin big. I'm not talking about Goliath big. I'm not talking like huge, so you can just chain vape and cloud chase with it. I'm talking just a little bit bigger and a little bit more realistic to wick, because I would rather have to put more cotton than not enough. Definitely more cotton is better in RTAs sometimes, especially if the juice channels are so large. Even with large juice channels, you do have to feather out cotton and you do have to minimize the cotton that's in it. But with something like this, because the deck is set up so high, you do have to put a lot of cotton in there to kind of feather out and get to where it needs to be. That's what I'm trying to say. And so to me, if the juice channels were just a little bit bigger, just a simple wicking method on there would work great. But because the juice channels are so small, you kind of just have to lay the cotton right on top of the juice channel, or right more up against the deck, up against the post, and that's how you get it to work. So it's a long rant about that, but that's really just because I feel like the juice channel is just a little old school. Like, this is something we should have saw last year. So, and that's just my thought about it. But again, for 50-50, it wicks great. And that's just to say, with a market that's so saturated with high viscosity juice, low viscosity juice, it's all over the place with what the ratio is, PG-VG. I just feel like it should accommodate higher VG just a little teeny bit more. And again, that is just my personal opinion. I think it is great that it works for 50-50, and plenty of people, vape high ohms at 50-50 ratios. But again, I just think if it was a tiny bit bigger, it would accommodate the higher viscosities, 70-30s, 80-20s, and max VG, of course. But, for what it is, it really only accommodates 60-40, 50-50, at least in my opinion. The actual quality of the device is absolutely great. No issues with the quality. There's a few quirks. I just think the chamber is too tall. I think that the actual barrel or the chimney is too tall and too wide. Those are just little quirks I have. I feel like if you can just reduce it a little bit more and still keep your juice capacity, you could get better flavor out of it. And that, again, that's just my thought on that. But for what it is, for what you're able to do, if you're a single coil user, this is absolutely for you. If you are somebody who likes 0.5 and up, if you like 1 ohm and up, this is definitely for you. If you're somebody that is going to be using 50-50 viscosity long term, this is definitely for you. Even 60-40, this is definitely for you. Again, so I'm just trying to I'm just trying to kind of point this to what it really is, what it's going to accommodate, who's going to enjoy this. Also, if you want to build temperature control, you have a single coil, so there's a little bit ease of building if you're just doing temperature control. So there's just, again, it has a bunch of cool features and a bunch of good stuff, but at the same time, it doesn't really accommodate the high wattage, higher VG type crowd. So that's all I'm really trying to say. But without more yapping, because I promised you this wouldn't be a long video, but I guess it probably did turn out to be that. So anyways, that is all. Thank you one more time to GearBest for sending this out. Thank you, Anita from GearBest. And yeah, that's it. I'm going to wrap up this review. Thanks for watching it, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please like it. And if you like my videos in general, please subscribe. And as always, stay classy and keep vaping.